Welcome to today's explainer. Get comfortable because today we're putting on our psychological mentor hats to fundamentally shift how you experience human suffering. We're unpacking a really fascinating piece of source material by an author named Xu Feng titled Those in Pain Cannot Enter Heaven. It offers a radical, almost clinical approach to human emotion. So let's just jump right in and dissect the very nature of why we hurt and how we might actually be able to cure it. So, I want you to start by thinking about the absolute deepest frustrations and miseries in your life right now. Seriously, where does your pain really come from? Whether it's stress from your job, a bad breakup, or just general anxiety about the state of the world. Where do you instinctively feel that pain originates? I mean, most of us would point a finger straight at the outside world, right? But what if we have the diagnosis completely backward? Our source material presents a pretty radical diagnosis. Xu Feng defines pain not as some natural, unavoidable reaction to a harsh world, but literally as a sickness of your consciousness. According to the text, whenever you feel pain, it's basically a flashing red warning light telling you that you've gone astray. It's a symptom of an internal disease, an illness in how you actually perceive reality itself. To help guide you through this massive paradigm shift, here is our clinical treatment plan for today's explainer. We're going to start by diagnosing the illness, then uncover the external blame illusion, walk through a specific case study of emotional betrayal, identify the root cause, which is the ego, and finally look at the prescribed cure for reaching a state of heaven. All right, step one, diagnosing the illness. Let's examine the overwhelming symptoms of this pain to really understand the sheer scale of the disease we're talking about here. The source text totally validates our everyday human experience by listing out these endless, exhausting sources of modern suffering. And I mean, they range from the massive existential stuff like aging, illness, and death, all the way to highly specific modern stressors, like unpaid car and home loans or the panic of lacking food during lockdowns. It covers power struggles, prison, and even just that quiet, nagging ache of unfulfilled desires. The author notes that the source of pain is unfathomable and seems to have no bottom. It's like we're just swimming in an ocean of potential misery. So the absolutely crucial point here is that if we ever want to reach a state of pure joy, what the author calls heaven, we have to cure ourselves first. Heaven only accepts those who frequently feel joy and happiness. The implication is huge. You can't just drag your heavy, sick, pain-ridden consciousness into a state of paradise and expect to suddenly be happy. You literally have to heal first. Moving on to part 2, the external blame illusion. Why do our usual treatments fail? Like, if pain is a sickness, why are our current coping mechanisms completely missing the mark? Well, we're basically caught in this tragic two-step cycle of pain. Step 1, we blame the outside world. We genuinely believe our pain comes from external factors, from other people, nature, or just bad circumstances. But the text warns that step 2 is the inevitable result of that. If you respond to pain with more pain and just keep blaming the outside, your suffering is guaranteed to remain endless. No matter how hard you try or how loud you cry out, the text argues that as long as you point outward, the pain is going to stubbornly stick right by your side. And this brilliantly illustrates the core thesis of Xu Feng's essay. A sick consciousness placed directly into heaven is still going to experience endless pain, even in literal paradise. But on the flip side, a perfect, healthy consciousness placed into hell will feel absolutely no pain, even in the worst conditions imaginable. So heaven and hell aren't physical destinations in this framework. They are purely states of your own mind. If you feel like life is unbearable right now, the text suggests it's simply because your consciousness is currently living in its own personal hell. That brings us to part 3, key study on emotional betrayal. To truly wrap our heads around this concept, let's look at a clinical case study directly from the text and see how this actually plays out in real life. It's one thing to talk about this theoretically, but let's make it intensely personal. Imagine this scenario of profound romantic betrayal, which triggers an immediate emotional shock to your whole system. The author uses this incredibly intense example. You fall deeply in love, you enter a committed relationship, and then you discover your partner has slept with someone else. Painful, right? I want you to just pause for a second and examine your knee-jerk emotional response to that exact situation. The natural human reaction is, of course, absolute devastation, anger, and heartbreak. And it feels entirely justified. We feel completely victimized by the other person's actions. But right here, the text delivers a massive paradigm shift. The problem actually lies within your own sick consciousness, which is actively creating the pain. The betrayal itself isn't the root of your misery. The author argues that it is your own hell consciousness reacting to the event and manufacturing that suffering. The text even goes as far as to say that if you were physically standing in heaven right now, this possessive, reactive state of mind would still figure out a way to create pain for itself. Absolutely mind-blowing, right? Which leads us to part 4, the root cause. If consciousness is the engine of our suffering, we need to locate the specific broken part to find the pathogen. To find that underlying pathogen, Zofang categorizes our suffering into 3 distinct buckets: physical, mental, and spiritual. Physical is bodily suffering. Spiritual deals with the big picture stuff, your worldview, your values, your whole outlook on life. But I want you to notice that middle category, mental pain, which the text defines as emotional suffering. The author points out that for the vast majority of us, mental and emotional pain completely surpasses the other two. It's our emotional reactions that are actively keeping us sick. And boom, here we have found the core pathogen causing this sickness. The text identifies it as an attachment to the self, which is essentially just our own ego. It's that absolute, stubborn certainty that we are right and everyone else is wrong. This clinging to our own rightness is exactly what distorts our consciousness. When we believe we are fundamentally right about how the world should treat us, any deviation from that expectation just causes us immense emotional agony. Finally, Section 5, the cure for reaching heaven. We know the symptoms, we know the pathogen, so how do we actually heal and reach heaven? The medicine here is taking total, unflinching responsibility for your own mind. We absolutely must recognize that all pain comes from our own erroneous consciousness. The text warns that if we fail to recognize this, we're going to be surrounded by pain for thousands of years, just trapped in endless cycles of reincarnation and suffering, never getting an inch closer to that state of heaven. The cure literally requires you to stop pointing fingers outward. And the text issues a pretty severe clinical warning here. It says, attributing their pain to external factors without self-reflection and constantly blaming and condemning others is called obstinate and unenlightened. In the context of our session today, it means that if you stubbornly refuse to take the medicine of self-responsibility, your illness becomes terminal. It becomes entirely incurable simply because you are actively fighting the cure. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought to take away from our explainer today. Based on this psychological framework, your suffering is a choice dictated by the health of your consciousness. So, are you ready to cure your mind and finally enter heaven? Or will you remain obstinate, clinging to your ego and blaming the world for your pain? The choice and the cure is entirely in your mind.